to regulate fishing. We went through, and I'll just say that they were a big fan of the etiquette. You will also, you have an ordinance, and then you have kind of a companion etiquette guide. They were a big fan of the etiquette guide. There are a handful of inconsistencies in the guide with what their regulations allow, so they were going to provide guidance back on that. We really did go through the ordinance with a fine-tooth comb and to, I guess, summarize what those discussions were. They had no issue with subsection G in the ordinance that and what's in your packet is the last version that you all saw. So section 7.3.23 subsection G basically says that if an officer sees something that's unsafe, they feel like it would be appropriate and within our jurisdiction to modify that, to make a modification to what they're doing that's unsafe specifically. We also, so that one, they felt like that's good as is. If the community wants to adopt that, they would see no issue with that. When we got into drones, you'll recall that the way we have it drafted, drones specifically can't cast lines. They say that they actually administer a rule on their managed beaches that says you can't fly a drone at all unless it's doing official municipal or state business. Stephen monitors beach conditions with it. So we have a reason. I think public safety personnel use it for search and rescue operations. So there are official things that happen with drones, but then there's also just people flying drones for fun out there. So they felt like if the city had an objection to drones, the effective or the acceptable path forward would be to just eliminate them on the beach, except for when it's official business. We had a similar kind of circular discussion about chumming. Chumming, that term specifically is tied to fishing. They felt like if you use the word chumming, it's going to have a direct tie to fishing. But they said if there were an issue with people putting animal parts into the water, you could probably craft an ordinance so that it wasn't specific to fishing, but it said, hey, it's unhealthy or unsanitary to put fish parts or any parts into the water. So they felt like if you all were of a mind to try to come up with language that would deal with chumming, if we felt like it was an issue, there probably was a path forward there, but it would be different than using the word chumming. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of what our conversation was with them. They also made mention, and I think I forwarded a number of articles to you all where existing ordinances are being challenged. So it seems as though there will be some very clear court decisions on this exact issue in the not too distant future. So it may be that we want to see how those play out. If the jurisdictional question is answered in those court cases, we could wait to see how that comes out and then adjust accordingly. Or I think we could move forward with really just kind of G, or G, potentially drones if you wanted to, and potentially chumming if you wanted to in a reworded.
A question about drones. When he mentioned outlawing drones totally unless it's official business, what about commercial artists, if you will, like Bobby Carrier, that does the drone footage on both ends of the island, documenting the erosion that we've seen up on the eastern end and also the western end?
I can't think of a clean way to allow that, but to not allow, somebody else who's doing it as a hobby. But if that was the.
I think that's something we need to look at, because I actually think he does a really good service in providing that footage, because a lot of people who don't get to see the beach firsthand for whatever reason, because they may be incapacitated or just don't walk the beach, have an opportunity to see what's going on.
I think you could get around that with, if you're going to do it, you get a permit from the city or something. But
Yeah.
I just want to make a few comments about this fishing. I mean, if, just as a matter of a little history, the reason that we even entertain this is that what I consider a fairly one-off circumstance where we had a commercial charter fishing operation going on the beach that was chartering shark fishing for people to come to Isle of Palms. And the method that they were fishing is that they were putting chum out in the water and then taking drones and flying fishing line out and dropping the fishing line many hundreds of yards out from the beach, and then for a fee, allowing people to catch sharks. And I think this is evolved in trying to stop all kind of shark fishing and even potentially at one point even fishing. And I think that we should go back and try to really address the issue that was the core of this thing, and that was this commercial fishing operation. And I do feel like I think that the etiquette is a really, really good thing. We should have that for the city. I think we should take any DNR advice and modify it. But in terms of the regulation, I still think we should, and we can change the definition of chumming to say chumming means the depositing into water chopped ground bait consisting of raw meat, fish parts, including blood and oil thereof, and put a period there and say in an attempt to catch fish. We just don't want chumming, whether it's for some other reason or any reason, and just take that out. But we should leave the anti-chumming in this, as in the ordinance. I do think we should leave in this drone. We should not be allowing drones on the beach to carry out fishing lines. And if we get challenged on that, we get challenged on that. That's my opinion. But I do think we should take out this piece where we're saying that we're not allowing shark fishing from certain hours of the day from Memorial Day to Labor Day. I think we should just remove that and keep the majority with the modifications I suggested on the rest of the language in this ordinance change. And I think that accomplishes what we originally set out to accomplish, and that's this commercial fishing operation that was going on specifically, to attract sharks, to catch sharks.
Well, we did address that in the commercial aspect of it, according to Chief Cornett, was, we have a license for that anyway. So that was not going to be allowed to begin with, and that was one company, as far as we could identify, that was relayed to us, and apparently that one company that was commercial apparently relocated to Florida. Who knows? I don't know. But then we also had the recreational shark fishermen that were here that were making the pitch for being allowed to do shark fishing during the months, excluding months between Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Right.
And doing it in certain areas, certain designated areas away from swimmers or surfers and at certain times of the day. Frankly, I didn't have a problem with that at all if we allowed that. But I don't think either in the spirit of this whole thing, I don't think any of us on this committee, and I don't think I even heard it in council, that wanted to say, let's just do away with surf fishing altogether.
We
George-
definitely don't want.
Yeah, in Georgetown County, they're getting sued over that.
Right.
Because they actually had in their ordinance to just do away with surf fishing.
But I
And so
think
now
what I'm
that's
hearing
sued.
is that what we added around the restrictions of fishing for recreational fishing, we're being advised that could be, it was really outside of our authority to do and would be challenged in court. And that's why I'm suggesting we take that out.
So, John, you're suggesting take out A.
I'm suggesting take out A,
Delete.
leave B, but change the definition that I said, take out the fish port.
How about if the legal advice is to change the term chumming? I think that was,
Well, you
that
can
there's a
change it,
direct-
but you can change it.
You just
but
can't put animal
I just don't think you
parts
should, leave
in
that
the surf.
And I think we should leave in the,
Just to make sure that chicken necks are still
Yeah.
legal, aren't they?
Yeah.
I personally
Crab
think.
bait, basically.
Yeah,
I personally believe we should leave in the unmanned aerial vehicle, the
So
restriction.
how do
but
you,
that's redundant because it's already illegal to fly unmanned.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
I thought you said it
No,
was.
he said we could do that, as opposed to just for fishing, we could just make it an ordinance
So,
to ban drones.
yeah, so
but that's
DNR,
not-
so our ordinance, as it was written, said specifically you can't cast. DNR is saying that they feel like if we wanted to outlaw drones, we would have to outlaw all drones. And then by virtue of outlawing them all, you've outlawed the casting, but then leave an exception for official business. I think what John is advocating
okay.
for is basically leave it as it is.
Okay,
And
I
take the risk of
misunderstood.
being
That's
challenged.
what I say.
I'm good.
but-
Leaving it as casting specific, knowing that it's against the advice of the DNR.
Yeah, and I think we should definitely leave in G, which allows the police
Yes,
officer, if
definitely.
they see, if they believe there's an unsafe condition going on, they can ask a fisherman to move, down or stop or whatever. But it gives them the authority to be able to stop what they feel is a dangerous situation on the beach.
Trot lines, I think that everybody, I don't know that we've ever had an incident of a trot line.
I could say take that out.
And I think DNR would say
Yeah.
that needs to come out.
Yeah,
All right.
So leave drones, leave chumming but reworded, leave G, take out trot lines, take out A.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think we have something that's fairly sound according to the DNR with that one exception
Yeah.
that I think is worth the risk. And I think it accomplishes what we originally set out to do with this ordinance.
Everybody okay with that? You
Mhm.
want to make a recommendation to forward that to city council?
I make a motion that we forward the amended ordinance as discussed to city council.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the update on breach inlet signage and parking, and I think, I assume that you, Chief, you're going to talk about this, but there's a example of a new sign that's in the packet. Was that you or Douglas talking about?
Well, I'll just start it out in saying that you're right. This is a new sign, a little bit kind of better graphically, we think. It also is, we're adding the kind of "you are here," and obviously it would be different for different signs, and we would try to orient people, try to get people oriented to how big that zone is so that they don't think that it's a narrow spot.
Yeah.
Chief, you want to give some detail about
Sure,
what's been
absolutely.
going on here?
Yeah, so Chandra was a huge help with the artist, getting them to, give us some ideas, and then she's already kind of created, a solid template that he could work from. And I met with Sullivan's Island with the fire department yesterday. I went over there and met with them. We discussed the shared signage and then shared training as well. So we said once we got a little bit further down the road and you were able to look at the template, then we would share it with them to get their buy-in and see if it's something that they would also like to put on their side. Because we feel that, and they feel too, it's most effective if it's universal, because Breach Inlet is a very small area, and if people are there that aren't familiar especially, they see the shared signage is consistent, we think it'll send the message.
So when you say shared, it's shared with Sullivan's Island, and
correct.
both sides of Breach Inlet would have the same
Correct.
signs.
Same
The-
sign.
Have you
the template.
determined where you would put the signs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a little further discussion. Their
Yeah.
ordinance, in discussion with them, their ordinance is a little bit different distance than ours is, so we'll have to tighten up that image a little bit. But yeah, from conversation with them, as I understood it yesterday, where the rocks are, that rock jetty on their side, that's where that ordinance actually is enforceable. They encourage people, obviously, to stay out of the water beyond that point, but enforceable by ordinance is a little bit different space than ours is. So we might have to tighten up that image a little bit, but we wanted to run it by y'all first, get your feedback and thoughts,
Well-
and then, then share it with Sullivan's Island.
Well, I think it's much better than what we currently have, because it does give an outline, and like you said, you'll tighten it up, but I think it was very important that people went out there, they knew, no, it's dangerous here, and I can't go here other than having a sign at the entrance where they have no idea how far the danger extends out. And so I think this helps visually, describe to someone that it's dangerous here. And I think it's important, though, to put the sign, multiple signs, at least a couple, on out towards Breach Inlet, as
On the
Sullivan
beach.
did. Yeah, on the
Kind of on the
beach.
Particularly on our side, if you've
Yeah.
got the rock, if you've got the jetty or the rock revetments, whatever they call them over there, that clearly delineates what they consider the mouth of breach. I mean, that's one thing,
Yeah.
but we don't have that,
Right.
so we need something that says, okay, this corresponds with that same line of sight that they have.
Yeah.
Right, and one thing we discussed yesterday too, and they're dealing with this a little bit more than we are in some respects, but with the changing sand at low tide, you can walk, pretty much from Isle of Palms now to Sullivan's Island. It's possible to do that in a little small section.
That's what Cornwallis thought.
Right. So they have a lot of boaters and kiteboarders and people like that. So it's so dynamic, it changes so often to get the signage dialed in to where it kind of works universally for both our municipality and their municipality, and of course, our guests, and the dynamic changing of the sand that we have in that area is, we want to get it right. So we wanted to get your feedback on this template and then obviously where we'll place the signs, and then we'll go to Sullivan's Island and tighten up our template.
I think it's the right direction,
Yeah, I do
much better
too.
than what it was.
That's
what we
good.
currently
Would
have.
you all, so, kind of as next steps, would you all be agreeable, assuming that Sullivan's Island's agreeable to the placement of the signs and the look of the signs, we would go ahead and just start placing them, we'd put them out, report back to you all with a map of where they are. If you want to add some additional signs, if you
No, I
see
agree.
holes.
I'm fine with
So
that.
we'll just keep the project going. We'll start installing them. The only other thing, I think that, and it's either theirs or ours that had the fine, and that's omitted here. I don't know if the fine is an additional deterrent to, if we should add that.
Seems to me we'd want to add that.
Our fine
What
amount and
is
their
the-
fine
what-
amount is different,
Is
slightly
it?
different.
Yeah.
I believe they're both over 1,000, but the amount. is-
1,080.
Maybe that's
85.
why it's omitted
Yes.
to, okay.
I think it's an added deterrent to know that
I
there's
do
over
too.
$1,000 fine.
Well,
It may
yeah.
get people's attention when they see that and read it closely.
And I think the signs
Definitely.
will be slightly custom because they're gonna have the you are here, so we can look into, if the you are here bubble is on their side, it'll have one fine. If it's on our side,
Yeah.
we'd have a different.
Yeah, I think
So we'll see if we can do that.
that would be a suggested add, I think.
Okay.
All right, if you all are okay with it,
All right.
we'll start getting them authorized and installed.
Yep. All right, next item is discussion of changes of the noise ordinance and nighttime noise levels. And Jan has put forward just a simple addition, and maybe you would want to comment on it.
I'd just like to say that I think this is, after trying for a few years and realizing that setting a decibel level for all times of day is more difficult, that there seemed to be a consensus for overnight noise. And if the police department still feels like this would be useful to them, to have a decibel level maximum of 55 decibels at night throughout the island. We can talk about what hours of the day we want it to, whether it's going to start at 11 or 10 o'clock until 7. I just said 11 to 7 to give us a place to start just the discussion. But the idea was to give y'all a more measurable parameter when you go to a house that you can just say, this is too loud. I think that a lot of the rental agencies have worked very hard to monitor their noise levels now, but there's still a few homes that are mom and pops and not really agency run, and it seemed to be a problem. And this would help. I've also talked with the resort to see what their feeling was about it. And they said they had no problem with the decibel level and the time period that we're proposing, so.
Yeah, as I think, as you know, I've been a proponent, I really do feel like, it's our council's role is to develop policy that kind of sets the vision of what we want the community to be. And we have a significant resident community that includes children that go to school and people still work. And I do feel like there's it becomes sacred after a certain time at night, where a resident shouldn't, or anyone shouldn't hear noise from neighbors in their home. And so I'm supportive of doing this nighttime, different from daytime, change in our noise ordinance. And I attempted to do that last time without bringing forward any kind of decibel level, because that was such an issue last time but I do feel like, that's what our police force has asked for, is something that's more concrete and more enforceable. And I do, so I support it. I do think that noise is a bigger issue in the community than what some of us realize it is. And, the public comment today has my antenna up a little bit about some of the specifics around the follow-up of some rental agencies on noise. But, I do support, as what Randy had said in his comments, that I do feel like the rental management companies have come together as a group and tried to reach out to the community, knowing that, hey, if, we're here to support you. We don't want noise either. And I think that's all very, very positive and probably has helped. But I don't know about the specific answer here of following up afterwards. That seems a little bit disturbing, and maybe it was benign, but it's certainly got my antenna up a little bit. But I do feel like, we should be setting policy to develop the kind of strategy community that we want and we envision this to be. And I do think having quiet time at night for our residents is important. So I support it. I think it needs more language around it, though, around how you measure, what you measure, what device is going to be, and the details. But I do support, the 55 level at night.
Well, I sort of like the wording of the current ordinance. And actually, I'm looking at amplified noise, but in general, that you just add the decibel level in.
Yeah, there is an existing section dealing with nighttime noise, but it is specifically to amplified music. So I think what I'm hearing is that you would want to broaden it beyond just amplified music to be yelling, any kind of noise
Yeah.
that's being generated by a person.
Well, there's a section
And then-
in the proposed
The
one
loud
that we
part.
had last time that you just take it out. It's around the kind of meter and where it's measured
Yeah.
and the times and the decibel level, but it's for plainly audible sound.
Right.
It's for sound. It's
Yeah,
not
so
just
we
for
would-
music, but yeah.
So I think we could put that together
Yeah.
for your consideration.
But I mean, Rusty, probably, we should hear from him and his thoughts on it.
Oh, I'm gonna weigh in,
Yeah,
yeah, whenever you get through.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna sign off on 55 decibel. I have no problem, and I certainly think we ought to take the noise ordinance back to council for full discussion, and decibel levels will again be a part of that discussion, as it has been the last few years. But I'm not ready to sign off on a specified or certain defined decibel level 55 from 10 to 7 or whatever. So I think we need to have more discussion on that. So I won't be voting in favor of that, but I will be happy to, advance this back to council. I did a little research on noise statistics over the last 3 years too, and I looked at 19 months out of the last 3 years, basically. And, we had some missing because for whatever reason, if chief's on vacation, sometimes we don't have all the livability reports we should have. But of the 19 months spanning from sort of middle of 2023 to our last report in June of '25, we've had 301 total complaints, which averages less than 16 per month. Now, I tend to believe that it does get underreported, to Randy's point earlier, to John's point. I think some people say, I don't want to get mixed up in that. I don't want to be that person. I get it. But, how big of a problem is it really? I don't know. So, I mean, and by far, most of what's done when it's reported and called on, most of them are either warnings or unfounded, and we have very few citations at all, that have been written. And I guess you could argue that the reason we don't have more citations, more actual fines, is because we don't have a defined decibel level. But again, I think that's something that all council needs to get together on and decide, are we willing to live with a specified certain decibel level overnight? But generally speaking, I don't know that we have a major issue with noise. I'm just not convinced.
Unless you're one of the 16, then you got a major issue. I think
Well,
that's what.
I've called them in before,
Yeah.
John. I have had situations before where I have actually called in complaints and had them addressed by our police department. Done it several times over the years. So I'm not one that just turns a deaf ear to it. I'm deaf, but I don't turn a deaf ear to it. So it's not anything to do with that at all. If I hear something and it's too loud or whatever, I'm quick to go and report that to the proper authorities. And I've got a rental right beside me, and I've got a good working relationship with the rental manager. And he knows that if we have an issue, and we rarely do, I can pick up the phone and call him, and he's all over it. And I think most of our property managers are ready to respond that way. And I think to Randy's point too, I think what happened with his neighbor was someone actually going to the complainant and trying to find out who complained. I think that's horrible. I mean, that's something that shouldn't be allowed at all. I mean, we ought to put the word out far and wide that that's something that no one should be doing, is trying to find out who actually registered a complaint. I think that's just, that's rude. It's out of bounds. So if that's something we need to address as a council, I'm willing to do that also.
You know,
The only thing I'm not signing off on today is I'm not going to be in favor of saying 55 at night.
yeah. You know, I respect that, but I don't know if we should be going to council and having I think we should do homework here to decide what the right ordinance to bring to council is, because what's going to happen is we're going to bring the council, have a discussion, nothing's going to happen. I think they would expect us to dig through the details and get any information we need to feel like what's a fair, reasonable amendment to the noise ordinance.
I'm good with that too.
And so I would ask, what do we need? And we can bring them into the September 1st meeting. We don't have to make a decision to bring anything forward today. What we should decide, though, what information do we need that we can come to agreement that's a reasonable change to the ordinance? Do we want to have some more experts come in and describe what it is, like, Dave Cohen or somebody like that, or into the next committee meeting, or to tell us what 55 decibels is, or what the pluses and minuses of having decibel readings and meters and different things? I mean, I'm asking you, Rusty, what you would want to feel more comfortable with it.
Well, I mean, if we're going to do further research within the committee to make to come up with a recommendation to go to council with, I think we have to look at what other communities are doing, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, what the experts have to say. I mean, we really are going back, we're plowing the same ground all over again.
We are.
Yeah,
We're really,
I think, yeah.
it's, we're going to plow it under again.
Yeah, I think the purpose of this was that when we brought it up and looked at the noise ordinance in depth, the only thing I felt there wasn't any consensus at all on was overnight hours. So that was why I brought it up now. And I think in terms of enforcement, I'm proud of our police department because I feel like their objective is to get people to obey the law, not necessarily to punish people. And the times I've heard that there have been, when we brought the hammer down on somebody, it's because they had, just totally ignored the law and kept doing whatever it was they'd been asked to see, to stop doing. And so I believe that I like that attitude. You're not necessarily going to have as many violations or citations because of that, because our attitude is if you change your ways and obey the law, then,
Well, where we've always gotten hung up too is, the duration of the noise. Someone's making noise, okay, then the police show up, a blue light's flashing, or however
yeah,
you do it when you approach that. The noise suddenly ceases, or, it's
Well,
like,
yeah.
all of a sudden people get quiet. So at
That's
what
always an
point,
issue,
the sustained noise, at what point do you actually write a citation, have it as a founded complaint? I don't know. It's
Well,
just
can
a
I make
lot
a
of discussion.
recommendation? The planning commission went through this in depth, and
It-
the proposal that we entertained last time was directly from the planning commission. And so why don't we have someone from the planning commission that was involved with that come here next time and explain to us their rationale for putting, and I do agree with Jan. I think I thought at nighttime there was consensus to say, oh, yeah, well, I agree at night, but, daytime, come on, 65 decibels a day, what's that mean? Is it, if kids playing in a pool, is that over that? And the discussion and the dissent was more around daytime as opposed to nighttime, where I thought there was consensus that, yeah, nighttime's sacred. We shouldn't be hearing noise in our homes. And so, we can have Dave Cohen or someone else from the planning commission come in here and go through how they arrived at the ordinance that they suggested for council to entertain last time.
We did that.
Yeah.
And we did that with Dave Cohen.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was their guy.
Yeah.
And he made some great points. So we can do it again.
Yeah. If that's, I'm ready to go forward with it now. I'm just trying to get consensus from everybody to get you comfortable
Yeah.
with it again.
I'm comfortable doing it.
With having him come in next time?
Yeah,
All right.
sure.
So just,
Okay.
just,
fine.
I guess for kind of the sake of conversation, and I think that the spirit of the planning commission's recommendation was to be very generous during the day, but be very tight at night. From my impression, it was, and I kind of recall receiving the message that we're showing, a decibel reading of a car driving or an 18-wheeler idling, and these kind of examples of why if an officer showed up with a decibel reading and somebody was present, it could show a high number. The ocean, the surf is loud, and it's just going to show kind of 55 decibels. And I was thinking that, John, your kind of proposed red line, I guess it was now either last meeting or two
Yep.
meetings ago, was trying to say the same thing, but without a decibel reading.
That's right.
And I guess I'm hearing you all kind of get consensus of, let's try to simplify it, let's only, at this point, tackle nighttime hours. And I guess the question would be, there's two different ways to do that. One is to try to tackle it with a decibel reading, and you're gonna have a little bit of the pushback of, all of these things are additive to decibels, and they may show up with a reading, and it shows 55, they go quiet, it's still showing 55 because of ambient noise. You get back to the other tact, which I think is what you were trying to do, John, is if you can hear a person, if
Yeah,
your
that-
ears are hearing a
Yep.
person, that's too loud.
Yeah,
So maybe you
it really,
choose,
it really brought in, because the old ordinance was purely amplified sound. And so what I did is change it to say, plainly audible sound. So any sound created by yelling, screaming, loud talking, reproducing musical, or any sound. And at the end, I say, including understanding of broken speech, comprehension whether a voice is raised or normal, so musical rhythm. So it encompassed any sound past 11 o'clock at night on weekends, 10 o'clock during the week. If you can hear it, and it's the same standard it is now. It says detected by a person of ordinary sensibilities using his or her unaided hearing facilities. So it's the same basis as what it is what the current ordinance is, but it expanded it to any sound at night.
And from my perspective, that gets away from, that definition and that method gets away from the pushback that we heard about an idling truck is just going to stay at 55. So I wonder if it's a combination of the two ideas where it's your language, but, and I think maybe you only consider just the nighttime part.
That's all I did. Daytime stayed the same as what it is today.
So everything, I was thinking there was other edits in.
Not really. I mean, very, very small edits. It took, here's a copy of it if you need it, but
Well, your proposal did not have any decibel level in it.
no decibel.
But
It's just, yeah.
So we.
I think the
We already
decibels-
adopted that, didn't we?
No.
No.
We didn't.
But I think the decibels, again, this is kind of my reading of the last time we went through this. I think the decibels became the kind of target for pushback
Yeah.
because of these examples. And I think I think David Cohen had similar, concerns that the ambient noise, it's additive, it starts to show up, and we had noise meters installed down there that showed some nights,
Yeah, the
It-
cicadas were-
it was hovering right at 55 decibels without anything going on, just because of ambient noise.
But this is when our police officer comes into play, because I think you have enough wherewithal to go to a scene, and if it's quiet as can be, except for the cicadas in the ocean,
You're not going to
You're not
write
go-
them a
you're
ticket,
not going to write them a ticket.
the cicadas.
So after you write the shark for a ticket, you can give us a cicada. Yeah.
Well, Chief Cornett said this many times, they need something that, that they can enforce. So that, if we're talking about a decibel level, certainly if you've got that out there and you say, okay, this is it, that's something they can enforce. What we've never been able to agree on is what that is.
Yeah.
What the
So-
decibel level is, where it's measured, what's the length of the noise, the sound, or whatever. We've never, as a council, agreed on
I
that.
agree.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going to go back to what our policy should really reflect the kind of community that we want. And I think if we adopt something that says, look, really what we're trying to achieve here is we want to draw a line in the sand, and we don't want our residents or anyone for that matter, even visitors that are staying here, to hear noise past a certain time at night. And that's what I was trying to achieve with that, is said, hey, I want our residents, I want our visitors, I want our police force to all understand that this council believes that you should not hear noise in your homes after 10 o'clock during the week. And we're gonna do everything we can to enforce that, whether it's a decibel or not. But we want it clear that that's the kind of community that we want. And that was my whole intent with putting together at least something that starts to send that message out, that's saying we're drawing a line in the sand.
Yeah, and that's the
And-
same spirit as the planning commission's recommendation.
Yeah.
Have fun all day,
Yeah.
every day, but at night,
Yeah.
shut it down.
Yeah. I mean, we got children going to school, we got people getting up to go to work, we don't want to hear noise at night.
Well, then I'm certainly would agree to, if the sticking point is the decibel level, that we just take it out. I mean, I'm not.
No.
Just,
I'm still open to say that we should have, can have Cohen to revisit his thoughts around it if we want to do that, or we can, take language and not have him come in, but you draft language and the proposed ordinance to come in and talk about in September as well. I would like to see us continue to have this dialogue to kind of get some kind of consensus around what we should bring to council, though, because I don't think the last thing, at least I would want to do, is to bring something half-baked to council and it gets shot down for a third time. We've been talking about this for 3 years now.
So could I suggest that we start with your red line, go back to, and probably would just be conversations with David as the kind of resident sound expert, whether or not to include, whether to add a decibel to this or not, based on his feedback. We'd come back, talk through that, but that would be on your September agenda
Yeah,
for
I'm good with that.
discussion.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to caution, there is a difference between OSHA workforce noise and community noise. So we need to make sure, I think Planning Commission has had the right attitude about community noise.
Yeah.
But if it's if you're, what the OSHA regulates, which has lots of standards, it's continuous noise. If you're sitting next to a large machine all day and it's, running at 60 or 70 decibels, that can cause harm. But if you're at a pool and there's a little bit of noise being, kids yelling and stuff that goes up to that level, it doesn't cause the same kind of harm. So we need to make sure that that's part of what we're doing.
All right, so you got path forward?
Yep.
All right, so next item is discussion, consideration of designating official golf cart paths. I think this was part of the change in state law around golf carts that would allow for communities to designate specific paths. There's a proposal in the packet on change and identifying what we would consider to be golf cart, or city golf cart paths. The only thing I have in here, Douglas, is that it doesn't include how you get across streets, right?
Just crossing?
Yeah.
Just crossing.
Like
the
it says,
only
it
thing-
specifically doesn't include sidewalks or pedestrian crosswalks, but
Right.
when you coming down on Palm, you cross across the crosswalk. Is
Right.
that,
So DOT, they prohibited that the golf carts cannot use the crosswalks to cross over. You can use any other part of the street to cross over, just not the crosswalk.
That's for pedestrians only, right? Yeah.
but does it have to be at an intersection where you cross over, or anywhere and you can
Preferably, it
cross?
should be.
It should be, yes.
But not,
But not using the crosswalk,
okay.
yes.
What I always did, I've got an LSV now, but what I always did when I lived on Palm was do just that. I would come out of my driveway and go straight across.
Yeah,
You know,
but
and
I'm
then hit the
specifically
side
talking
streets.
like at 22nd, or, where the,
21st S curve, right?
that S curve,
Yeah,
when you're coming down,
20th Avenue.
Down to 21st.
20
yeah, you have to cross the street there to get across.
Right.
And you use everybody uses.
Most people use that
crosswalk.
Yeah, that
And I think the
crosswalk.
curbing almost funnels you to have to.
To have
Yeah,
to use
yeah.
it.
Because you can't really cross it any other
And
place.
I guess
'cause of the
it's, we're not gonna outline that, but that's still gonna be the path that probably 95% of the people
Right.
are gonna take is through there, yeah.
It'll be legal, although it may not be the most the best place for people.
And what we're talking about, maybe designating as a golf cart path, I mean, that directly connects with that portion too that we're dealing with here, right?
Yeah. This is a loosening up of,
Yeah.
the golf cart paths that the state has regulated before, so. I think it's good for us because it
I
fits
think it
within
is
our-
too.
our roadways, that's for sure.
All right, so, any other comments or changes on this thing? I know, I'm pretty good with
So
it.
the only
self-explanatory,
path
I
that
thought.
we're talking about is the one on Palm Boulevard between 22nd and basically the shopping center.
That's
right?
correct.
Mm-hmm.
The
And
connector.
Right.
And the other side of the street though, too, that one.
Well, that's already-
Carmen, that goes to Carmen,
Neither one of
Bunch
them have been
Park.
designated, they didn't meet
That's correct.
Oh, they
standards
didn't?
beforehand because the DOT.
The
has
Jimmy
pretty
Ward
strict-
Freeway didn't get designated?
No.
No, it was unofficially designated. This- we now
Unofficial,
have
so that's part of this.
That's it.
We're
Yeah.
making
Okay.
this official
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
the state statute
Okay.
is allowing us to now
Yeah.
officially do that.
Approved by
Okay.
DOT.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think
And
Chief has
it'll
already
make it
had,
safer.
maybe discussions or approval of these designations. I think they've
Yes,
kind of.
yes.
Yeah,
The DOT has blessed this as the proper process to do this.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. SCDOT have approved this as being the designated golf cart pad.
Well, I make a motion that we take this, is it a resolution?
It's an ordinance.
An ordinance
Yeah.
to council.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
The next item is discussion of scope of future traffic study. And I think there's something in the packet that was from the
Anonymous.
last one. Yeah, or that's
That's
yours,
from
Jan?
Jan.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you should talk about it.
Okay. It wasn't intentionally anonymous, but I went back into consultant mode, and if I were getting a request for a proposal, what it would look like. Because of the conditions this past summer, I think everyone is in agreement that we need to look at how we can improve traffic flow conditions. And from my perspective as a traffic engineer, I saw two issues that need to be addressed. One is on those Memorial Day weekend and Fourth of July weekend, where we actually ended up in gridlock with traffic not moving for more than an hour. We need to find out how we can better manage traffic control at that time. And I think there are experts who can make suggestions that might help with that. The second part, though, is just in general, if we look at traffic flow conditions outside of those 2 days of the year in the summertime, we still have issues that arise that impede that automatically, manually due to enhance the intersection of 14th Avenue, the connector, and Palm Boulevard to make traffic flow easier, and maybe we could do to enhance the intersection of 14th Avenue, the connector, and Palm Boulevard to make traffic flow easier, and maybe take some of the burden off of force. We're always going to need traffic control officers out there for those special conditions, but if we could keep it to either a shorter period of time or with more help from the signal timing and the way the intersection is configured, then I think it'll make your jobs easier. And that's my goal with this. So it's actually two different issues that are being addressed. So one is managing traffic on those peak days, peak weekends, but also after a rainstorm, when everybody decides to leave the beach all at once, what can we do there? And the second one is, can we make the intersection of Palm Boulevard and 14th Avenue and the connector, traffic flow through that better throughout the rest of, all of the year, but in particular during those non-gridlock times is where that would be focused on. Just as an aside, I got word that Town of Mount Pleasant heard that we were considering a traffic study and had reached out to us to see if we were interested in joining with them. And I went to their Transportation Committee meeting yesterday, and the committee agreed that they thought it was a good idea. Now, they will, from there, it has to go to full council for an agreement, but at least was able to inform them of what our intentions were. And of course, that would have to do with the connector and how we might be able to restripe the connector and tie into Rifle Range Road on their end, so that we could actually get some more capacity off of the connector than we have today. And we'll see how that goes, but at least there was an interest in cooperating that may,
Good.
may benefit both sides of the connector. And not just, for them, not just right at the end of the connector and Rifle Range, but it could also, hopefully for them, they look at the rest of the connector at Hungry Neck, all the way down to 17 to see how we can better get traffic flow there. But more on that later. right now, this is just a proposal, a suggestion that we advertise to consultants to see if we can get several consultants to propose on it and give us a better plan than the one we received by doing it spur of the moment before. It's more it can be more thoughtful. We've got time to actually develop.
Yeah, so just a level set where we are, what our path forward is. We had this significant, a few significant traffic incidents in June, and which really brought the discussion to this committee that
Yeah.
we should look at doing a quick study over 4th of July. Then we brought that to workshop, it's a little too rushed. So we abandoned that
Yeah.
rushed idea. Now we're back, and is the path forward then to go out to get an get some quotes back from various different traffic consultants to look at this? Is that where we've agreed as a council as our next steps?
I think so. I think that, to me, that was the next step, and I think that before we would do that, as Janice mentioned, the town of Mount Pleasant has expressed an interest in potentially participating. I know that Sullivan's Island has been contacted about the potential of them cooperating or participating, and I think that requests are being put into the county for their potential cooperation.
As a
And-
joint study, one study?
Yeah, so I think we would want to iron that out,
Yeah.
or at least get, an idea of
Yeah.
what the study would include before we got proposals. Obviously, I would think that if Sullivan's Island is going to participate, they're going to want it to also include,
Breach and.
kind of their
So, yeah.
on and off.
So for the RFP, you really need to know, to what extent the scope is going to, it's not just an Isle of
Yeah.
Palms thing.
It could be, as it's written now, it would be an Isle of Palms.
Isle of Palms, but
thing.
if we get Mount Pleasant, Sullivan's Island on board, then it's a larger project.
That's correct.
Which I think would be better to have a larger project because
agree.
the impact of one on another is pretty significant
Right.
here. And if you can put the whole thing together as one traffic study, that, what we do, how it impacts others, and what they do, how that impacts us, would be a better approach to it. And I think that at that point, though, you would, from a deliverable standpoint, what you'd want to put out for someone to quote on would need agreement by all the parties that are going to pay for
That's
it. But, yeah.
Couple of things. The more participants you have, the more complicated it gets,
Yeah.
and the harder it is going to be to get it started. Waterway Boulevard, I guess, is the best example of that. So I would suggest that certainly the Isle of Palms, Mount Pleasant relationship and traffic study could be very easily a standalone. The second thing is, we're not asking for a quote. This is a request for a proposal. And what you do is you talk about what it is that you want to have the study cover, and then the consultant will tell you how they can cover, how they would do the work.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to talk dollar amount. You're hiring on their professional expertise, not on the dollar amount. But on the other hand, generally consultants know about how much money a municipality is willing to spend. And I'm not sure we've got that down yet, but I think we've got a number that's been floated out there.
Well, there is a number in the existing budget for this.
Yes.
It is part of this year's
Yeah.
budget, and it's in there.
But
Yeah,
wouldn't we want
that's usually how
to
they-
give potential companies that we would want to get the proposals from, what we would expect as deliverables, and then
Right.
how they go about getting what they need to be able to deliver on those deliverables is up to them.
Well,
They'd put that together in their proposal.
yes, that's right.
And so
they
we
tell
should be
us, yeah.
prescriptive on, what data they would collect or what they would do or
And that's
anything.
what this is, yeah. This pretty much defines that, and there is a section with deliverables at the end, which I don't feel like we had in that quick and dirty proposal. that we
But
got.
who would solicit cooperation between the county, Mount Pleasant, and possibly Sullivan's Island along with us? I mean,
Is that something you
how do we,
thought?
is that something you do, Douglas?
Yeah, I mean, so Jan has kind of been the point person with the town of Mount Pleasant. The mayor has reached out to Sullivan's Island and Charleston County. And I would, not that it needs to get any more complex, but I think generally, if it were to be a plan and a project that would have 3, 4 players, it probably becomes a project that we would want somebody, probably like the COG, a regional planning agency to be the lead. Otherwise, as you all know from working with Matt Klein, it is very much, this is our boss. We're going to take orders and change things according to whoever the lead person is on the contract. So it becomes a little bit messier if we have 3, 4 players, and we probably would go to, either the county would be a logical one if they're willing to participate, or the COG, to kind of put that together and be the agency we're all kind of working through for the project. So I would say that we would want to get that, just get a quick answer back,
Yeah.
either kind of rough numbers, this is what we're thinking it's going to cost, or you're willing to participate. If we get positive feedback from each, then we make a decision, okay, this is, if you got 4 players, we're probably looking at engaging an outside
Yeah,
coordinator.
I do agree with Jane that the most, from a benefit standpoint, probably the biggest benefit would be teaming up with Mount Pleasant, because they have the most impact directly to the traffic. We get the other
Yeah, and
ones
that's a
fine,
little
but-
simpler.
but so-
Two bosses,
Yeah, and so-
easier than 4.
But I think by next meeting, if you could have that, get a read whether they're
Yeah.
interested or not, to figure out how we move forward would be really
I
good.
don't think it'd be hard to pull Sullivan's Island in either. To me, I mean, it's like, I mean, that's just one of the 2 ways off this island.
Right.
But, I mean, I don't know. I think you judge that. In the past, I think we've centered everything around Isle of Palms and this connector, the traffic light on the other side.
Right.
It's always been centered around that, and it's always been a point of contention.
Yep.
That certain groups, certain people, just say, we don't want to consider it, hands off, whatever. So it really, I mean, I do agree. I think this ought to be a partnership. I think
Yeah.
any improvements, I don't think we have a long-term solution because the population's going to keep growing, but improvements temporarily at
Do it
least
better, yeah,
would be better if we can include our neighbors.
Yep.
yes.
Maybe you can get a read by
Yep.
next meeting, and we
Yep.
can decide how to go
And-
forward with that then.
Yeah, and I like your idea of reaching out to the Council of Governments. They do studies like this all the time.
Yeah, this is definitely their world.
Yeah, so they could, especially if we've got more than one entity, they could be.
Who's our COG representative?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, and I think.
For the record,
For the
Jan
record, it's
Anderson.
me, Jan Anderson. Got a meeting on Monday I'm going to. Yeah, I think that's a definite possibility for doing a relationship.
So we'll work on that, report back,
All
have a
right.
path forward next month.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Next item is new business, review of parameters IOP connector run that's going to, is it October 2nd? It's the 4th, right? Yeah, October
Is it
4th.
4th?
Yeah.
First phase would start in the second, but run itself.
4th, yeah.
Scott, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So you all thought that he was here for tenant comments, but he's not.
No.
President.
And just kind of level set us, pull up a chair. Council has actually authorized this event already, as you'll recall, last month, but it was done, that was really done to allow them to apply to the DOT for approval to use the DOT roads. So that hopefully allowed that request to start moving forward. Council conditioned their approval on the run successfully coordinating with the police department, fire department, and this committee. So Scott, I didn't realize it until I got a response back, but Scott is kind of the liaison for the run to the city. And I think that you all have already connected.
Yes. we should.
And I think I believe, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but I think it's now kind of a smoothly running operation that probably will run like it has in every prior year. But I just wanted to have Scott and public safety departments kind of talk to you all, see if you all have concerns, kind of go through what their plans are. And as long as you all are okay with it, we'll let them continue to coordinate with the public safety departments. So Scott, if you want to just kind of give a brief overview of how you envision it going.
Yes, sir. So as we just clarified, the actual race is on Saturday, October 4th. The race begins at 8 a.m. that morning. Historically, in the past, the road closures, specifically kind of right out here and over the connector, that starts around 6:30. It's always kind of just been the lead of, I guess, the police department, to make sure that happens. Traditionally, the connector's reopened around 11. I don't think it's ever gone super late into the day. And everything that we have lined up for this year would be almost the exact same as it has been for the last 30, 40, 33, 40, 34 years, whatever it's been. So we don't have any major changes or anything that we foresee changing that. Nothing would need to be done the night before. That lot back there behind the police station and the fire department, part of that is used for like the afterwards, kind of water, beer, music, all that little event afterwards. It's my understanding that tents and things like that are delivered over there on Thursday. So having part of that kind of sectioned off for us on like Wednesday night going into Thursday, then portalets and all that stuff comes in on Friday. Then the actual race with the final setup, the road closure, running, and then cleaning up is all Saturday. So maybe that October 2nd is just kind of that first little step of that Thursday when all that stuff starts. The route that we did last year started right out here at 12th and Palm, went over and back and ended the front door of the Acme. Just right there, and then everyone filtered into that lot for the afterwards thing. I ran it myself last year. I didn't see any problems with that. So that's kind of the thing. That had changed slightly from what we had done before over on down at Front Beach. And I was not involved. I don't know the reasoning behind that, but going under the assumption that everything is straight back to how it was last year, and we're totally on board with that. So. Let's see,
I think the reason why it changed though was the flow of traffic. Because when it was on Front Beach, it really had from Palm Boulevard coming this way, you couldn't get across the connector there.
right,
So this allows cars to kind of go down Front Beach and then around Ocean Boulevard and back up. So it allowed a path for cars to
Right.
come and still keep
that makes total
Yeah.
sense, and like I said, it worked out great last year.
Yeah.
Everyone's totally on board with keeping the same thing.
And you had a record number of participants too last year.
And we're anticipating 2,500 this year.
which gets to parking, right? So,
Well, our lot.
what time does is there any kind of coordination with the county lot that needs to be done? What time do they open the lot? Because you're gonna have people starting to come over here at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, probably 7.
They don't open until 8 or 9.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they don't open until like 8 or 9 o'clock.
Is there any way we can coordinate with them to open that lot earlier? So for
Yeah.
for that run?
We definitely can do that.
Yeah, because we definitely need that lot with 2,500 people coming down here for parking.
Yeah, that is, not sure where, I think there's only I think there's less than 1,000 spaces
Mm-hmm.
in the entire.
Yeah, and you figure there's, assuming you even have 2,500 runners, I mean, it's not, you're gonna have 2,500 cars, you're gonna, people come together, you maybe get half at most, and.
And we do
but-
encourage the carpool, and
Yeah.
there's quite a few of those that are island residents that most likely wouldn't need to be
Right.
using that. I just texted Michelle Priest, who's actually in charge of this thing, and she couldn't be here today, so y'all get me instead, just to make sure that, because the last couple of years that I've participated, that county lot was used for parking. I'm guessing that we're the ones that coordinate that, but I
Yeah.
was confirming that with her so I can give you all accurate information.
Yeah.
It has been used.
Yeah.
I know that.
So it's opened at 7:30.
Mhm. That's where I parked
Because
the last
I
2 years.
thought usually they'd be open during the run or just before the run.
Somebody just needs to make sure they
Yeah.
coordinate.
Yeah. In the past, it seems like there haven't been a lot of cars illegally parked because they couldn't find a spot, that's for sure.
Right.
So,
It's been a well-run event for all these
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
I've helped out by drinking beer, I think.
There you go.
And
Someone's
it's
gotta
just,
do it.
I know, it's a wonderful event, and it certainly brings a lot of people.
Yeah.
And at a time when there aren't too many
Mm-hmm.
visitors to Isle of Palms, so I think it's a wonderful event. And it's
And-
for a
and-
good
and,
cause.
You know, and it's, before lunchtime, it's all pretty much dispersed. I mean,
Yeah.
it's over, it's done with.
Yeah.
People, you know, you still have people that are hanging around and frequenting our restaurants and shops and things like that, which is great. Maybe hanging out on the beach some, but any traffic issues or road closures, that's all gone very early, since the race starts so early.
What's the goal?
Yeah,
Get in, make it
exactly.
happen,
Yeah.
and be done with it, and not be
Yeah,
lingering
my
around
company
the whole-
sponsored the run for the first few years that they had it, and I think the first year was like 100 runners,
yeah.
maybe 100 runners.
And just so that y'all are aware, last year turned into about 143,000 that
Yeah.
was given back out to the beneficiaries of the Exchange Club, so.
Which is what, child abuse and child.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty much the main
Yeah.
one, but there's a couple other
Yeah.
ones that.
It's a good cause.
No
Right,
doubt.
so it's doing good.
So if you all are agreeable, the departments will continue to coordinate with the organizers, but if there were any kind of sticking points that you all wanted to interject, I wanted to give you that opportunity. It sounds like there's none, so we'll just have them continue to coordinate
Yeah.
with public safety departments.
Do we need to vote or anything, or no? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
Wanted you to-
okay.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Well, thank y'all for
Yeah.
letting me stay. The DOT thing that you mentioned, I can tell Michelle that she can submit her
Yes.
paperwork?
Yes,
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Well, that's all I got.
Thank you, Scott.
Great. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, y'all.
Next item is discussion of painting the intersection at 41st Avenue and Forest Trails.
I think
this-
they meant painting stop bars.
Stop bars, okay?
Yeah, and I think, and you will have a note from, I think, from Katie
Yeah.
to you all into the packet summarizing the issue, and I think the police department has been able to coordinate this with the DOT, and it's
Yes.
currently in the works, I think.
Yes, the chief has submitted the request and they are working on it to get it done at 41st and on Forest Trail.
Yeah, if
Okay.
you look around, the other intersections with stop signs all have stop.
Yeah.
There's the painted white line on the ground at the intersection that tells you where to stop, and it reminds, traffic engineering is all about habits, and motorists, when they see it, are more likely to stop
Yeah.
for a stop sign when it's there.
Yeah, I think that sign was a little bit of a kind of a pilot study, and maybe that's why
Could I-
it didn't get,
Yeah, can I speak to that?
Sure.
Yeah, I have some history with it, and so does Jan, as a matter of fact, because she was on council at the same time, but, or at least, maybe you came on afterwards.
After that, you preceded me.
Yeah, but, I mean, in July of 2021, we okayed by a vote of 7-2 to have a 90-day temporary evaluation of having a stop sign right there. We never dealt with it afterwards. So here we are now, 1,500 days later. You know, we haven't dealt with the original issue. And the original issue was, how did it go? What was the evaluation like? We get the Wildwood traffic stats every month
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
that shows us what the highest speed was, the lowest speed was. I don't know how many tickets we've issued there, what kind of problems we've had, if we've had any. I mean, I know that there are cars that run that stop sign or have rolling stops, I mean, just like any other stop sign, but to me, the first thing we need to do is deal with the original issue before we start talking stop sign, paint stops. I think that's unfinished business, I really do. I think it's something we ought to go back in terms of the council and address that and put that old business, I mean, I know this is new business right here about the paint stops, but go back to the old business and have kind of an overview, an evaluation of what's happened there in the last 3 years. You know, whether we even need the stop sign or not.
Well, my understanding is, I kind of remember this was the end of '21 when this was discussed. And
July of 2021.
I think it was the.
July of
yeah.
2021 is when we.
But the
made
stop sign didn't go up until, I think, the end of '21.
Well, I don't know exactly when it
Yeah.
went up, but it was to go up during that period of time because we wanted to study it prior to the restaurant opening down there.
Yeah.
And also getting the benefit of some of the summer traffic that was going in and out of the marina. So I don't know. But even at that, even if it went up at the end of 2021, it was supposed to be for 90 days. That's
Yeah.
what we okayed.
But my whole point, the timing is not important, but to me, the point, I think the reason that the stop sign was put up is because of excessive speeding down 41st Avenue, especially with trailers and boats and different things, but that was a major route to the marina, and there's a lot of excessive speeding apparently.
The vote, there was a lot of discussion about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
There were some that agreed with that, some that didn't. I voted for it. I
Yeah.
voted for the 90 days.
Yeah.
There were 2 people that dissented. I
Yeah.
won't even name the names, just in the record. 2 that dissented out of 9. The
Mm-hmm.
rest of us voted for 90-day evaluation on that stop sign in that area there. There was also discussion about whether SCDOT would even allow it because it was so close to the 3-way stop at 41st and Palm. So there was really doubt that SCDOT was even going to allow it. And in fact, Desiree specifically mentioned, and this is in the record too, that it had been turned down before when requested in that same location. So again, now we got it. Now, I don't, you know, I wasn't privy as to how we ended up getting it, but by us okaying it 7-2, we did end up
Yeah.
getting the stop sign.
But my whole point is that to go back and evaluate, but how would we evaluate it if the intent was to stop excessive speeding, and it apparently has stopped excessive speeding?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know if it did or not. I'm looking at June and I'm seeing a high speed of 75
Yeah,
and a low speed of, high speed of, on the Wildwood side, and I think 49 or 47 on the Marginal Street side.
yeah,
I see this every month. We don't
Yeah.
ever speak to it,
yeah.
but it's something that.
I mean, I'm fine with going and
Yeah.
reviewing it. I just don't know, I mean,
What you,
Well, and
what
we-
you would be studying to
Yeah.
make that judgment.
Exactly. And then the other thing is even preceding the stop sign, we've had a speed sign right there on 41st all this time also.
yeah,
That was placed there at least a year, maybe 2 years prior to that.
and that's where that data comes from.
Yes.
Yeah, it comes off of this,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I think there's just questions we need to address in council before we say, okay, let's just go ahead and have paint stops.
So will you request that the chief take back his, I think that's, are you all okay with that? Because I think
Well,
right now
I
it's on
think
the
it should come to the
DOT's.
committee. Again,
Yeah.
I think that's what the committee's for, is to do
Yeah.
that, and then take a proposal to council if we want to change it. But yeah, but we should, if we want to review that next meeting, I'm fine.
So we'll reach back out and ask them to pause on our request to make that.
And I would like, let me say this to the rest of the committee. I sent a note to Douglas over the weekend requesting that, and I know Chief's not here today, which is fine, but I did request that we really look at what the, an evaluation on the radar stats on 41st, and also professional opinion is the need for painting, for the paint stops at the four-way stop sign, historical number of, frequency of running the stop sign. I know that we do have cops that go down there and sit on Wildwood and some of that area there, to catch, to possibly catch someone running that stop sign, and I know that happens. So I wanted to have that kind of information too, given that it was supposed to be a 90-day trial just to measure its effectiveness to begin with.
Again, I just don't know how we make a rational decision of whether it's I mean, if it was put there to stop speeding, and it looks like, we can look at the data, but you're even suggesting that it hasn't, which is just we put more
I don't
stop
know.
signs.
Well, you look at the
Yeah.
average speed to see how effective it is.
Yeah.
And
Do we
then,
do we
But
have
we're
that
always
data
gonna
prior
have-
to the stop sign now?
Yes, you did when you had
Yeah.
that discussion.
Yeah, so we'd have to go back and get the data prior to the stop sign, look at it
To see if we can kinda-
To me, we have unfinished business we never dealt with, and my
Yeah.
bad. The next year, when Jan was on council, she was chair of safety and I was vice chair, and we didn't bring it up all year. And we should have. I'm not
and I
blaming
thought it had
Jan.
been there
It just,
forever, so.
it fell, okay,
Yeah.
no pun intended, but
Yeah.
it fell off our radar screen.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? We didn't really deal with what we were supposed to for that 90-day evaluation. So, that's where I'm coming from. And one other thing I do want to bring up too, it's just, I did send a note to Douglas on this, but it really is, it's not only courtesy, but it really is one of the things that we as a committee and anybody on council needs to be really careful of. When we add an agenda item or request an agenda item be added, to me, that communication ought to go to Douglas directly. And then Douglas communicates that to the chair and also any other committee members that may need to have it. It shouldn't be, anything we do as a committee of three that involves two of us is a quorum. And FOIA, discoverable. So the communication that went in about adding this to the agenda, adding I'll even throw in adding the decibels to the agenda, that was done without my knowledge. The first I saw of it is when it came out in the packet, and Douglas, as city administrator should do, included all that correspondence in the packet. So I saw that it was there, but I had no idea. I wouldn't have had a problem with either subject, I'm fine with it. It's just that we ought to be very careful, I think, about how we communicate going forward.
It'd only be a FOIA if you communicated back. The one-way
Yeah.
distribution of it is not a
It's
FOIA.
still-
but
it's
if-
still-
If you have discussion, email discussion going back and forth, that's the FOIA.
Still, when you have two or three council members that are involved and not the third one, I think that's probably something
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
Well, I
not
think-
right.
I mean, in my
Right,
defense,
so-
I was reaching out to the committee chair and and the city administrator on this one, asking for an agenda item, and I didn't think that was an area that was a fair
I'm not,
discussion.
I'm not trying to openly
I
blame
have,
Jan
I have
on that.
wondered for 3.5 years how
But
to
I-
get things
even
on
on
the
this
agenda,
committee,
so
even-
maybe I'll get it right
Yeah.
by the time I leave.
Even on this committee, I think I'm the one that asked that shark fishing be added to the agenda, and I went to Douglas directly without involving the chair or you,
Right,
and said, could we please see about adding that to the agenda? I mean, I don't even conduct business with Chief O or Chief Cornett directly, or Donnie, or any of the rest of them without going through Douglas. Not city business.
That's my policy as well. I'm
Yeah.
glad to know we're on the same page.
Do I converse with them? Do I have chats with them? Yep, all you want. I love doing that, off-the-record conversations, but my
So,
lecture, I'm sorry.
On this particular issue, we'll look at it, but,
Yep.
and I think that, my feeling is that the people that live in that area find that stop sign to be very, very, very beneficial. There's a lot of families and small kids in that whole area, and I think they find it, despite what whatever data we're going to look at, I think they find it to be a very beneficial addition to the safety of that, of the streets of that area, but they may chime in on too when they hear that we're going to evaluate it, but. The next item is discussion of e-bikes and motorized scooters. This is something that we talked about at our last meeting, that potentially, and Chief was going to do a couple things, I know, and maybe you're not up to speed or prepared on it.
Well, what I do know is Chief has looked at the ordinance from Hilton Head and Mount Pleasant, and he's taken things from each ordinance, and he's trying to put something together to present.
Yeah, he was going to, I think Mount Pleasant had a discussion on e-bikes, and he was going to kind of bring back some of that information.
Right.
And then, as you said, look at other ordinances and make a suggestion on anything that we should be doing. I know there's a distinction in the voltage range of a e-bike, and one, if it's above a certain voltage, I think it starts to fall
750, yeah.
into motors, like motorcycle kind of range, which has a different set of laws. But I know we were going to look at age, and there's just a lot of concern that at least I hear in the community around e-bikes zipping and zapping through the streets, and young kids and safety. And there's a couple of accidents recently of e-bikes, I think. And so it's something I think we want to, from a public safety standpoint, take a look at. I know we addressed it on the beach, but this is a more comprehensive look at it. So I don't know if there's anything to say at this point, if anybody wants to say anything about it, but we may want to just wait till Chief comes back with some recommendations in September, hopefully.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's premature or not, but I know Wild Dunes has been wrestling with this problem as well. And if you feel it's appropriate, reach out to them and let them know what we're thinking of doing and see if they have any input whatsoever. Just call Andrew.
So do we want anything else to add on it, or can you just relay to Chief that,
Yep.
yeah, if he could come with some specific recommendations, analysis of what others kind of have done, what kind of is going on even at the state level on it, potentially, but if he could give us some recommendations next meeting, it'd be
Yeah.
helpful, I think.
Yep,
Sir.
Great.
we'll get that done.
All right. Next meeting is September 1st. That's the first Tuesday in September, I assume.
Wow.
At 11 a.m. Everybody good with that?
Good.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.